Hello, gorgeous souls. Welcome to this video on the Capricorn full moon happening on June the 21st. So this is not our average Capricorn full moon. It is one of two Capricorn full moons that we will have this year. So understanding this archetypal energy is so key. So we begin Cancerian season with the moon in Capricorn at the early degrees. And then we're going to wrap up Cancer season with another full moon in Capricorn at the very end degrees. The second reason this full moon is not our average Capricorn full moon and is holding so much power and energy is it is happening right around the solstice. So on the 20th, we welcome in the solstice with the sun moving into Cancer. So we are still very much in that energetic portal at the time that we celebrate this Capricorn full moon. And the solstice is a time where the veil between the physical and the spiritual realm is thin. So this means there is just such a beautiful opportunity to deepen that connection to your angels, your ancestors, your higher self, and to receive the guidance you've been praying for or asking for. So we're going to dive deeper into all of this today. I'm going to share my chart so we can go more into detail on this full moon. So I just want to say a warm welcome to anybody who is new here. My name is Kara. I'm a cosmic channel, and in these videos, I share guidance with you from astrology. We always dive deep into the astrology and also from the Akashic records. So tapping into the Akashic field to the records, and I always ask for guidance as I study these charts on how we can work with these energies in the highest timeline possible. So having an awareness of the lower octave expression and the shadow aspects, because in our human form, we can move through that, but always with the intent to work with it in the highest timeline for your own life and what you are creating and manifesting, but also for the planet. So if this is something that resonates with you, be sure that you subscribe, like this video if it speaks to you, and feel free to share it out if you think other people could benefit from this guidance and this information. So let's begin by talking a little bit more about the solstice. I always like to give a little bit of background before we specifically dive into the lunar energies, because astrology is so much more than what's happening at any given time. We really have to understand the larger context in which it is occurring. So as I shared with the solstice, this is such a potent time for a reset in our energy, and it falls at the halfway mark point in the year. And what our mind can tend to do if we are operating just from our mind is we look to the past at what we have created or achieved so far this year to determine what we will create in the second part of the year. The thing is, our mind is very limited because it only knows the past. And this is why people tend to stay in the same cycles and patterns again and again. It's not that we don't have the power to transform. It's simply we may not always understand that we're operating just from the mind and we're looking to the past to determine the future. So, this is a beautiful opportunity to remember that your past does not define who you are or what is possible for you. It was simply an experience, but you have the ability to create a new experience. You have the ability to choose something different, to play in the field and the energy of possibility and potential, to get curious about what is really possible for you beyond just what you have experienced. And this does require a lot of courage to lean in and claim something new. So on the 18th, I'm going to be hosting a release and rise ritual to support you with this, to support you in clearing out your energy field and aligning to your soul's highest path and accelerating your manifestations in the second part of this year and really turning up your magnetism, knowing how to work with your energy. So I'll attach the link below if you want to check that out. There is also a replay. So if you can't join me live on the 18th, that's totally okay. You'll have access to the replay and you can listen and watch at a time that is more aligned for you. So let's pull up the chart here. Let's dive a little bit deeper and have this visual representation of these energies. So we have the moon at 1 degree of Capricorn opposing the sun at 1 degrees of Cancer. So we're working with the Cancer Capricorn axes. And Capricorn energy is very much about achievement and success. So, really beautiful opportunity to look at where you are putting pressure on yourself around what you are achieving or creating in your life, or where you have allowed societal expectations to determine the goals you set instead of like what your heart really wants to experience. So, releasing that feeling of pressure, sometimes we can think that we need to apply pressure to ourselves in order to achieve things or in order to keep going. And while that can work, that can be a way of creating, it's not the ideal. It's a sure way to lead to burnout and disconnect from our body and our higher path. So, when we're operating from this feeling of pressure, we're operating from fight or flight mode, which cuts us off from creativity and seeing opportunity and seeing resources. So, since this is a full moon, there's a releasing quality. What can you let go of? What can you release when it comes to these pressures that you are applying to yourself? And how can you instead welcome in more joy? This is also such a good time to look at where your energy is going, what you are working on manifesting and creating, and why you're doing that. Like, are you doing it out of obligation? Are you in this cycle of just achieving more for the sake of it, and you forgot to check in and ask what it is you really want? These are all good questions to look at with this Capricorn energy. Now, Capricorn also being a cardinal earth sign is really good for accelerating manifestation. So if you do feel, yes, I'm aligned to my path, I know what my mission is, I know what my vision is, which tends to be the light workers that come into my world. And you're simply looking at, how do I reach more people with this? How do I amplify my impact? This energy is actually really, really good for accelerating those creations because it actually gets you to slow down in order to speed up. So I know that sounds kind of paradoxical, but the thing is, especially where we are just coming out of Gemini season at the time of this full moon, we can lose a lot of energy if we are scattered or we're busy just for the sake of being busy. Like we're doing a lot of busy work. So we're going through the motions, but we're not actually grounded and intentional about what we are doing. So, with this Capricorn energy combined also with Mars in Taurus, it's a very earthy energy of being intentional and focused around what you are working toward. And as you do that, you actually accelerate your manifestations, your results, because you're not leaking energy, just like checking things off your to-do list or under the illusion that you're accomplishing things when all you're really doing is like burning yourself out because there's not the focus there. There's not the intentionality that is there. So, beautiful opportunity to explore these questions around work, success, achievement, and where your energy is going. Now, Capricorn is the opposite sign of Cancer, so they work along the same axes. And we have the Sun, Venus, and Mercury all in the sign of Cancer at the time of this full moon. And with this axis, we are working with the energies of the masculine, which is more the Capricorn, the structure, and the feminine, which could be seen as more the Cancerian. It's the feeling energy. And these energies, like all opposites in astrology, they're opposite signs, but they're compatible. The elements are compatible. And it actually works with this law of balance where we can really take a look at, okay, where am I out of balance in my life? So with these specific energies, it can be looking at where there's an out of balance between rest and relaxation, where there's an imbalance between how the masculine and feminine energies are playing out. So questions like where do I maybe need to work a little bit more? Where am I maybe I'm very in my feminine, I'm flowing through my day, but where do I maybe need a little more hustle or a little more structure? Or vice versa, if you're really good at taking action, where are you maybe needing to just work on the magnetism a little bit more? The feminine aspect of allowing what you desire to come to you, allowing what you have asked for to come through. What's coming up now is like an example that could help with this. So think of it as you're in a conversation with someone, and if all you're doing is just like talking and asking them questions, but you're never stepping back and allowing yourself to receive the answers, you're not going to be in flow in conversation. Or you may have had this happen to you before where you feel like this isn't a conversation, like this person is talking at me. They're not having a conversation with me, or they're not even giving me time to answer the questions. They're asking questions, but I don't even have time to answer them. So the same can be at play with our connection to our spirit team and higher self. We may be asking a lot of questions, praying for answers, but we're never slowing down to receive. So this Cancerian energy is like, where are you creating space to simply be, to receive the answers you have been asking for? So there's definitely that flow here of, again, our work life, how you're working, how you're showing up, the actions you're taking, and the allowing, the being, the creating space to receive what you have worked toward. It's also really interesting with this Cancerian energy here is it relates to your childhood and your home life. And this often shows up in our working world as well. I work with many clients on this when there are fears of visibility that come up, when there are income plateaus, when there's fear around receiving more money for their work. It often has roots in their childhood or home life. So this full moon, notice what's coming up in the goals you may have in your business or what you want to achieve. And if it feels like a block there, the key could be looking at your inner world, and is there an inner child that's maybe not feeling safe being seen, being visible, making the money you want? And as you address that part of you, you create expansion and you move more quickly toward your goals currently. So that's definitely a theme that's very much at play with these energies as well. With Venus so close to Mercury, and they're both opposing this moon in Capricorn here, it also brings us back to what we love. So, Venus conjunct Mercury is very good for connection and communicating in meaningful ways with people, like from the heart. So, I see that being a theme this Capricorn full moon as well. So, the ruler of this full moon is Saturn. So Saturn rules over Capricorn, making it the ruler of this Capricorn full moon. And Saturn is very much about discipline and structure and creating a really solid foundation that ensures our success. If we don't have a solid foundation, things can feel wobbly. It's like we feel like we have nothing to lean into. So this earth energy is really good for getting that solid foundation. And this combination of this water energy, Saturn's currently in Pisces. We have these three planets in Cancer. We have the moon in Capricorn, is also very, very good for manifesting. So again, I'm going to say this is a very powerful time for manifesting, for co-creating, for looking at how you use your energy and how that balance with the actions that you take, you can build a lot of good momentum here. Another thing with a Saturn energy in Pisces as well is it really is this question of like spirituality and like practical spirituality. You know, our spirituality isn't just in play when we are sitting down to meditate. It's when we are moving through our life. It's when we are in conversation with people, in interaction with the world. I mean, it's easy to feel at peace when we're on our own in meditation, but many of us aren't called to live that way, or we wouldn't have incarnated into these human bodies. Some people do have that calling, but for many of us, you know, we're out in the world and we're connecting and we're interacting. And, you know, Saturn in Pisces is really about how we apply our spirituality in our day-to-day life when things feel tough, how we navigate challenging situations. It's who we are being in those times. So that's really coming into question this full moon as well. And, you know, another thing I'm receiving from the Akashic records around this is looking at and just being curious about, are you living out your soul's highest path? So when you incarnated into this physical body, your soul held intentions for what you wanted to create. But because we also have free will, we can choose to align with those intentions or we can choose not to. And throughout this human experience, we're always sparking new desires, new things we would like to create and experience as well. So, being in the energy though of, am I living out the path that brings me joy? How do we know? Maybe you're looking at, how do I know I'm living out my soul's highest path? Well, we know because there's a sense of flow and alignment. This doesn't mean no challenges. Often our soul's highest path will invite us into our fears so we can grow. But there's this sense of like, yeah, this is where I'm meant to be. And if not, like just get curious about what decisions need to change, what habits, what practices can you alter to feel more aligned with that sense of flow in your life. And there is an element of action here. We can't talk about the Capricorn full moon without talking about taking action. There is, we are required to lead ourselves to the right people, the right opportunities, to have the courage to say yes, to make adjustments and changes when things aren't aligned, but you're really supported with that. Very supported in this full moon energy to make those changes, to have an awareness of how you are using your energy. And again, I keep intuitively being brought to Mars here in the sign of Taurus, which is actually flowing in harmony as well with Mercury in Cancer here. So Mars in Taurus isn't in a rush to get things done. So this is definitely going to be a big shift from Gemini season. I know some of you shared you're feeling very overwhelmed. Some of you love this energy. It is very much influenced by what's happening in your birth chart as well, and how these cosmic changes and transits are interacting with your birth chart. But overall, there's a collective shift here for sure about slowing down and being more intentional. But again, through slowing down, you can actually see a lot of your creations come to fruition in this energy. So like a lot of ideas that may have dropped in Gemini season begin to take form, where we have Mars moving through Taurus and this Capricorn full moon really in the spotlight. And even in Cancer season, Mercury, Venus, the Sun in Cancer, it's also a cardinal sign. So this can be where you finally maybe begin to take those ideas that you have and really recognize like what ones you're putting on the back burner for later, what ones you're running with now, and what you need to have in place to execute it. Cardinal energy very much is like that doing energy, but we just want to make sure we're moving forward intentionally. We're trusting our intuition to guide us. That Cancerian energy, trust your intuition. And you're looking at that balance between like the masculine structure in your life, the taking action, the doing, with the feminine energy of creating space to receive and remembering your power to magnetize and attract. So share with me below, what are you releasing in this full moon energy? What are you manifesting? I will hold space for you if you share below. I always love connecting. And if you're called to, I would love to see you in Release and Rise, where I will also go more into how to find where these cosmic portals right now are happening in your birth chart. And we'll be going into the Akashic records together to do powerful cosmic transmissions, activations, and clearings to really set you up for true success in the second half of 2024. Sending so much love your way. Enjoy this beautiful full moon energy, and I will see you soon.